They deprive you of your freedom of movement, basically seize you, put you under arrest, but you could be seized and not able to leave without them saying you're officially under arrest.
Do you know what to do if you're arrested? Well, that's what we're going to ask the lawyer on today's episode. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com, and my guest is attorney Merrida Coxwell from Coxwell Associates in Jackson, Mississippi. Merrida, thank you for making some time to answer our questions today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be with you today.
So we hope it doesn't happen, but if it does and we're arrested, somebody gets arrested, Merrida, what's your advice? What are the first couple of things that they should do?
Well, I think the number one thing and the most important thing for a person to do is to call and get good legal advice. There are a lot of constitutional rights that an individual has: the right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure, the right not to incriminate themselves, the right to consent or not to consent to a search of their home, search of their phone. And you really can't exercise these as a non-lawyer if you don't know what they are. So I blogged about this a lot on the Coxwell Associates blog page, that you need to call a lawyer. Hopefully you'll call us, but even if you don't, you need to call a lawyer and find out what your rights are and what is the right approach for you to take when dealing with law enforcement.
Well, let's talk about rights a little bit, Merrida, because you say there's a lot of them, so we can't cover everything. But, we see on TV and the crime shows, you got to make sure you read your Miranda rights. What are some rights somebody should know off the top of their head if they do get arrested? What does that whole Miranda rights thing mean? Help us out there.
Well, I couldn't help but smile when you said Miranda rights, because it never fails. The very first thing that almost everyone says to me when they call and want to talk about a criminal problem is the police officers didn't read me my rights. Well, the police officers have to read you your Miranda rights, and that comes from the case named Miranda. If they deprive you of your freedom of movement, basically seize you, put you under arrest, but you could be seized and not able to leave without them saying you're officially under arrest. But when they do that and they want to question you, they're required to read you your Miranda rights. Now, they can stop you, for example, on a traffic violation, and they can engage in voluntary contact with you and voluntary conversations, and they don't have to read you your rights. The classic example is them asking you to come down to the station. You come down to the station voluntarily and you're willing to talk to them. They're really not required to give you the Miranda rights. In almost every situation I see, the police officers will do that out of abundance of caution. But it's when they seize you or arrest you, they're required to give you the Miranda rights. Now, if they don't give you those Miranda rights, that might give you the option to try to what we call suppress your confession if you get charged with a crime. Mm-hmm. But if they don't get a statement from you, the fact they did not read you your Miranda rights has no impact on your case whatsoever. And I tell people all the time, they didn't read my Miranda rights. Can I get this case thrown out? No. I mean, they didn't take a statement from you. So it really is. I don't ever think of the constitutional rights as ever anything comical, but the way people's understanding of it and the way they say, well, can I get this case thrown out because they didn't read Miranda rights, is sometimes interesting.
Well, then let's follow that line of thought of what we think we know about these sort of things because we learned it through television. What about where in the process, Merrida, do I contact my attorney? Do I wait until they go, okay, you get your one phone call? At what point in the process can I say, you know what, I want to call an attorney?
Well, I mean, you use the right word there. You use the word process because there are a lot of different processes during law enforcement investigation. It may be they come by your house to talk with you. It may be they stop you on the side of the street during a traffic violation and they start holding you longer than, if they stop you for speeding and they've checked your driver's license and they start asking you other questions, that goes beyond stopping you for speeding. They could come and flat arrest you. So, in every instance, it is a process. So I've always told people, because, individuals work better if they have very clear and bright lines. If law enforcement comes to see you and you have any question in your mind about whether or not you need a lawyer, always resolve that doubt. Even if that doubt is no bigger than an atom, always resolve that doubt in favor of saying, I want to talk to an attorney before I talk with you, and get the advice of that attorney. The attorney may say to you, you have no problem whatsoever. Go talk to him, or let's go talk to him together. Mm-hmm. But, let's face it, in this world, good people make bad decisions sometimes, and good people make mistakes. And a lawyer can help you minimize those mistakes and those bad decisions if they can see you early on. It's a little bit like a doctor getting you at the very beginning of cancer and then getting you 5 years down the road.
Do you find, Merrida, that some people say, well, I didn't do anything, or maybe I don't want to look guilty. If I say I want to contact my attorney, then that makes me look more guilty?
Absolutely. And I've always said good lawyers make good law enforcement, and good law enforcement make lawyers. We live in an adversary system. That's the type of government we have. And you can't be concerned about how something makes you look. Politicians and CEOs and individuals like that I have represented, they are especially worried about that. And you just cannot be worried about that issue. You need to worry about talking to a lawyer before you go forward. If you don't, then you might say something that seems to you not to be harmful, but ends up being used against you. And, most of the cases across the nation, cases are resolved either by law enforcement prosecutors dropping it, prosecutors agreeing with the defense lawyers for a negotiated plea, maybe dropping it down to a misdemeanor. But when a lawyer is involved from day one, our law firm has been extremely successful in helping people and getting the maximum benefit of our knowledge in the law when we get involved on day one.
Let's talk about undocumented citizens, Merrida. Do you find that they're hesitant, even more hesitant to contact an attorney? Do they worry, I don't have the same rights as others? What's your advice there?
Well, yeah, they're very cautious. I don't see as many, and I don't get as many calls now. And this has got nothing to do with politics and everything to do with politics. Back before the last election, while immigration is always in the news, it's kind of taken a bigger place in the news now. And there's, more deportations and more arrests and more prisons to hold undocumented individuals. So to be honest with you, I don't get the calls like I used to. I think that folks that are undocumented are really staying low, a low profile. When I tend to get them is when they've already been arrested. And I get a call, and some family member, either in the U.S., who, oftentimes individuals undocumented are here living with family members who are citizens, mm-hmm. or who at least have a green card. But I get those individuals most of the time after they've been arrested. So it's a different situation.
But I guess my question was, those people still have rights to full defense?
Absolutely. It's the same, have the same constitutional rights as an American citizen.
So let's say, Merrida, I get in trouble and I contact a good attorney such as yourself, and the charges are dismissed. What does that mean? Is that off my record? Is there no record of that anywhere? Is it going to pop up in the future?
Well, that's a happy day for you, obviously. But no, in Mississippi, when you get a charge that's dismissed, it doesn't dissolve, it doesn't go away, it doesn't expunge itself. That's the word we use, expungement. Some people say expunction. That's an affirmative action you have to take, and we have 3 or 4 different expungement laws, one for felonies, and then one for misdemeanors. And every year, progressive lawmakers are trying to increase the number of laws that can be expunged, and it just makes sense. I mean, we live in a nation that is probably harder in terms of punishment than any civilized Western civilization. Let me phrase it that way. Mm-hmm. And once you have done everything the law says you should do to pay back society, it just doesn't make any sense to me to not allow an individual to get that law expunged or get that conviction expunged and to move on with their life. Now, there are some exceptions. There's some violent crimes, sex crimes, and crimes against children that are not expungible. But there's, most of them, well, I'm not going to go so far as to say most, but many, many, many crimes now, once you finished your sentence and waited 5 years after you end your sentence, they're expungible.
Okay, but that's another process to get them expunged.
It is, and this gets into beyond the law and into my opinion, but that 5-year waiting period is something that, for an individual that makes a bad choice and say picks up a grand larceny conviction and serves 5 years on probation, in my opinion, I'd like to see the legislature make that expungible once he finishes that 5 years probation. Right now, he has to wait 5 more years. And if you think about the job market, I mean, that's a long time, 10 years to wait to be able to expunge something. So Mississippi hasn't come as far as I'd like to see us come in that area, but I think we're getting there.
Merrida, lots of great information today as usual. Thank you for helping us out and answer our questions.
You're welcome. It's good to talk to you again.
You too. That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Attorney Merrida Coxwell of Mississippi. If you want the best information or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, make sure to go to askthelawyer.com. Also, please take a sec to like, share, and subscribe by clicking below. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com.